I hope everybody is having a wonderful day. Please, 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 please get your libation. Get whatever you need to get through the show. Like I said, we're not, listen, we're not doing a long show. And part of the reason I say that, and part of the reason I always feel that way, is because I feel like most of the people who tune in, we know some of this stuff. We know a lot of this stuff, right? Whew. But when you see it in real life, when you see it, when you see it happen in real times, like it's not a theory anymore. When the rubber meets the road, this is not a theory. This is real life, baby. And everybody better act like it. Now, we have to have a conversation about some of our leaders. Okay? We have a whole reparations commission. And the point is I just want everybody to be clear on this point. The point of a reparations commission is to do reparations. Now, of course, I feel like some of these, I feel like some of these commissions are a dodge away to give the federal government a way out so that you can say, well, we did all that locally. We didn't even have to do it nationally because the local people gave everybody reparations as opposed to what happens to a lot of other groups. They get it every which way. So just because the Native Americans are getting free education in California with UC Berkeley or whatever, doesn't mean that they're not getting COVID relief and all kind of relief from the federal government. But we haven't had that kind of coordination, and we have a lot of leaders in place who probably should have been retired. Now it's not just reparations. We see this all throughout our community. And I'm going to say something about us. And not just the elders, but we got our own set of problems, even as Gen X and the ones below us, right? And I saw a lot of that at that OMB hearing I'm going to talk about in a second. I'm going to talk about that too. Those of you who are, and listen, shout out, if you all saw the Rock Newman interview, please, if you didn't, go take a look at it. Please take a look. I think we did pretty good to clear up some of the misnomers or whatever. So take a look at that too while we're talking about all this stuff. Now let's get back to leadership. So I'm not even going to start off this conversation about the reparations task force. I'm going to start this conversation off right here. Let me get this size just right to go in this little slide. I'm going to start it off right here. Now, who is that, you may say? Oh, Lordy, that is Reverend Al Sharpton, the Reverend without a church, right? Now, it says the debate over banning flavored tobacco in New York, part of a budget negotiations in Albany, pits Reverend Al Sharpton against NAACP President Hazel Dukes. Now, I don't know what I did the show. I think I did the show on Patreon. But if you watch the show on Patreon, or maybe I did it here, I don't recall. But you will recall that the Hazel Dukes, as far as I'm concerned, her claim to fame in terms of mission drift. She deserves an award for mission drift. Well, why do you say that, Yvette? Well, here's why. She put together a whole thing about sugar-sweetened beverage ban and the misdirect and short-sightedness. And she said, we did not need Bloomberg's, we don't need Bloomberg's ban on sugary sodas and all that kind of stuff. Now, some people, as is the way, some people got lost. And they said, well, Yvette, I agree. I don't think we need to ban sugary drinks or whatever. I don't need... Just that quick you got lost. If your response to when Hazel Dukes did, I think it was back in like 2012, if your response is to agree or disagree with her immediately, then you are lost. Well, why am I lost, Yvette? Because the problem is, the question you should ask yourself before you even ask yourself whether or not you agree with a sugar ban or not, the question you should ask yourself, because Hazel Dukes is the president of the New York NAACP, the thing you should ask yourself is this something that she should be involved in? Is this the center of what is important for the black community? Is to stand in the way of Bloomberg doing a ban on the sugar drinks? You should ask yourself in terms of the priorities of our community, the ADOS community, you should ask yourself, should this be a priority? We tend to jump into whether a thing is right or wrong when we deal with organizations. The first thing you have to assess is whether an organization should be doing what they're doing. Don't jump all the way to whether it's right and wrong. You will get lost. The way to stay on the path is like, first of all, the first thing you should address when you're dealing with an organization is whether or not this is in your mission. Is this central? Okay, and if it is in your mission, if you look at the priority of problems that we have, where does this fit? 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th. Ask yourself that. Then ask yourself where the money's coming from. Are you getting money from the drink lobby, the sugar lobby? Is that why you're doing this? What is this about? The second thing I have to say about Miss Dukes, and she's going up against Al Sharpton, and y'all know I don't care for neither one of them. But the second thing I want to say about her, and I don't mean no disrespect, but you're 90 years old. At what point do people decide that the best thing in my life is to pass this on to somebody else, is to impart whatever knowledge you have or think you have on to somebody else to move on? At what point do we see that? Or do we begin to see that as a priority? Obviously, we don't. Now, before I move on, I'm gonna move on to reparations and NAACP opposing reparations in a second. But the one thing I want to say is this: even when you look at the two people who are opposing each other, it is not lost on me either that the National Action Network and Al Sharpton have taken money from the tobacco people. So you have two things going on. You have one person who is probably taking some money from the sugar people and somebody taking some money from the tobacco people. Well, who is working on behalf of the Negro people? Who is working on behalf of ADOS? Who do we have in our corner? I will tell you, it looks like nobody. And the people that we do have are very confused. You can be sincere and be sincerely wrong and sincerely confused. And I want to ask another question. This happened back in the 1990s, but it does give me pause. When I look at Hazel Dukes, she's 90 now. This happened back in the 90s, but it calls into question an integrity issue. Hazel Dukes, the president of the New York chapter of the NAACP. Well, this is in the 90s. How long has Hazel Dukes been chairing up that chapter? Do people move on? This is a quote from like an article in the 90s. So I think I was still in college. Hazel Dukes, the president of the New York chapter of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People and a former president of the New York City Off-Track Betting Corporation, pleaded guilty yesterday to stealing $13,000 from an OTB employee who was suffering from cancer. Now, at that point in the 90s, I think if you plead guilty to something like that, I think it's time for us to kind of move on. It's time for us to kind of part ways. But Hazel is 90, and then I see an article with Al Sharpton and her finna square off over cigarettes. They finna square off now over flavored cigarettes. I don't know if is it the menthol cigarettes? So now they finna square off over cigarettes. Now listen, I keep saying this, and I cannot say it enough, but integrity matters. Like the willingness to and don't tell me that's a pleaded guilty is a pleaded guilty, and the woman had cancer. That's what the article said, and you can look it up. You ain't got listen. I want you to always verify. Don't ever just go with what Yvette say. Please go look up whatever I say. Don't just say, well, Yvette could have been wrong. No. Then we got the internet. You can go look up everything I say. So I'm wondering now why you Negroes about to go to war with cigarettes. Now, I don't believe you should. I'm not necessarily a fan of banning the menthol cigarettes or whatever. I think that's an addiction issue. And a lot of times addiction comes from your situations, and people just want to solve, people don't ever want to solve the problem. They just want to prosecute the symptom. So I'm not in favor of that. But the thing is, the reason I'm not in favor of it, in terms of I want to treat the source and not prosecute the symptom. I don't want somebody, I can't find my whatever, and then somebody's going to be selling something or whatever, and you got to fix the problem that causes people to be like, I need to see it. But I ain't taking no money from the cigarette industry. Who do you work for? Who do you fight for? That's the question. It's always the question. And we got a lot of, and see, the thing is, we want people like Hazel to retire, and people who we feel, and we are right to feel that way. We are right to say these people should retire. We are right to feel that way. But I want you to know something. You have to displace people. And those of you who will be available, Friday and Saturday, the OMB wants to hear from you. And this is the save the date. The first one already happened, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second. town halls on OMB's race and ethnicity statistical standards. We need you to show up and advocate for ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery, and we talk about why that's important, the institution of slavery, the real estate of that word. Everybody who describes their term, they always say, well, I want to talk to you about the whatever, the people who descended from slavery in America. They really say American Descendants of Slavery. If you have to use the words descendants of slavery to describe your group, you're using the wrong term. But we need you all to show up and show out. It's 2:00 Friday and Saturday. You call in. I think if you press like *1 or whatever, look it up. Get in the queue and have the conversation, because the last one was embarrassing. So now I understand why we haven't. First I was like, why do we have so many people who are older? I think part of it is that they're grifting. That's part of it. But the other part about it is that they haven't trained people to take over. And when they look around, most of us can't take over. If I'm listening to that hearing, y'all, and somebody put it up after they hid it, and I would have hid it too. I'm not a fan of hiding public comments and public conversations, but I would have hid that too. It was a mess. It was an absolute mess. You had people calling in, I'm the indigenous daughter of the and you should tell Janet Yellen, and you should well, you had people from a lot of the other groups who just copied everything that Antonio and I have ever said and just gave it a different name and said that's me. And you had people rambling and bumbling and fumbling. It was a mess. So when I look at that, I understand why we ain't take over. We don't understand. We have a problem. Like, we don't understand, first of all, who should lead. What are the qualifications for leadership? Having a telephone ain't the qualifications for leadership. Having a thought in your head that don't go together good is not the qualification for leadership. That is not the qualification for anything. If the first time you heard lineage was coming out of my mouth, that is not, or Antonio's mouth, that is not a qualification. Or somebody else who works in ADOS, that is not a qualification for you to believe that you can lead in the space. Well, I like what they said, but I don't like no acronym. I prefer not to be an acronym. I ain't no slave. Nobody's calling you a slave. What we're saying is that the institution of slavery impacts your life. That is what the fight for reparations is all about. And just because you feel somehow inferior, and you feel inferior based on what somebody else did, we did not enslave ourselves. The shame should not be on us, but you want to show up and talk. I have never seen so many people want to just show up and talk and don't have nothing to say. Should be ashamed of yourself. And I blame the people who live with these people. Y'all need to start telling these crazy people in your family to shut up. Don't come here with all this wild talking. Well, what book did you read? Well, I ain't got to read no book, It's common sense. Well, I just leave, and I tell you what else. Can you hear me? Are you there? If you want to take over, and take the politics back, you have to start by being competent. You will never take anything back with incompetence. If I was listening to that, and I was an older person, and I was ready to pass something over, I would say, no, I'm going to stay here till I'm dead. I'm not going nowhere. Yes, they should move on, but are you trainable? Are we trained? Like, what is going on? I have never, if you get a chance, like I said, somebody else snagged in. If you get a chance, please go. And listen, you don't have to go and listen to it. If you can't find it, just make sure you tune in Friday. And while you're on hold, you can hear everybody else talking. And it's going to be madness. And I want you to compare our comments to the people who are calling in for other designations and other groups. Very cogent, very, very thoughtful comments. They're not bringing Twitter fights to the OMB. That's not what they're doing. Just like they're not tagging the OMB in their Twitter fights. We have a problem where we don't know how to get serious. We don't know everything is like the OMB is not the shade room and it's not a gossip site. This is an opportunity to do serious politics in a serious way. I wrote The Problem with Obama, He's Not African American in 2010 or 11. When I put the American flag across my arms and said, we're American and we have to own it, that's the beginning of this movement, right? All that undergirded by Antonio's information, the data which painted the urgency. That was in 2016. So you look 13 years ago, and I wrote that argument 7 years ago in the case for American. We like a decade in here, and we got all these new people running up talking about I'm Chickasaw. I don't care, just don't call. And if you're not going to take a stand, and then the only thing you're going to tell anybody is what you don't want. Like, the only reason we're here in this moment is because of ADOS. And then everybody shows up to slap ADOS. You're only here because of ADOS. You're only here because of this movement. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. So please show up and show up, because we need people with sense. We need people who can make a case, people who are capable of learning. Because if not, this is what we're going to see. You're going to see more of this. Your boy, your guy, San Francisco NAACP rejects $5 million reparations payments to blacks, calls for reparations to focus on investments opportunities in 5 key areas at board supervisors meeting on reparations today. Now, here is the very, and I remember him. I was on I remember him, but let me just show y'all what he's calling for. Let me just show y'all what he's calling for. Right? Investment in education, economic empowerment, housing, healthcare, Fillmore Heritage Center. Listen. He's been on this Fillmore Healthcare Center forever. And his name is, what is his name again? Amos. I remember, oh gosh. Yeah, Reverend Amos Brown. And I was on some kind of panel with him one time, and he said he was on the task force. I was a bit surprised, but I wish him the best of luck. I'm a very nice person when I encounter people. So I say, respect you, do the best. But if I'm running the task force, I'm going to research a lot of people. And when you research, you see things about people. It's very interesting. The first thing that comes to mind is that these folks don't understand the difference. They really don't understand the difference. And this is a gap in learning. They do not understand the difference between a black agenda and reparations. Like it's an incompetence on a grand scale. The government is supposed to do certain things. We're supposed to have access to a good education. We're supposed to have access to affordable housing. These are things that the government is supposed to do for citizens, period, the end. It has nothing to do with reparations. It has to do with the fact that we deserve a black agenda that works for us. It is an agenda about policies. It is about government resources. It's the advocacy you do in your local, state, Washington, D.C., that's what that's about. Reparations is intended as payment, not just on a debt for slavery that built the country, but that accrued disadvantage as well, because that's what it takes to make it up in this America. You have to have redistribution of wealth, which means you have to have cash that's transferred from the government, that's transferred to you, because that's inheritance that was lost over time. Inheritance has to be repaid. Inheritance is not housing. Inheritance is not education. Inheritance is not what we lost when we got ran off our land. Inheritance is what we got lost when we got ran off our land. Inheritance is what we lost. Education, housing, that's what the government should do anyway. People of all walks of life. Poor white people, Latinos, everybody fights for housing because that's just part of, if you're an American, that's just part of what it is. That's not reparations. This man got on hold on, let me make sure everybody understands this. A man who is on the California Reparations Commission came out opposing reparations. That's what it is. That's what he did. He said, I am in favor of a black agenda. Now hold on, I want you to understand something else that's so confused. And listen, these people are just becoming jokes for other people. They are becoming just jokes. So you don't understand, first of all, the difference between a black agenda and reparations. Well, you shouldn't be on the Reparations Commission if you don't understand the difference between those two things. Those two things are very different. One thing is something that is owed to a specific group of people because of a specific harm. The other thing is something that is owed to citizens across the board. If you don't know that, You should never have been on that commission. And these people were not vetted good enough. They were not vetted good enough to be on anybody's commission. Let me show you something. Because we gotta go all the way. So take it back. Somebody, shout out to whoever put this up underneath my thread, because somebody else found this. And I like to shout people out when they find, but I forgot the Twitter name, but it's in the thread. So you were for it before you were against it. What in the world? Like, you older, you can't stand tall on something. NAACP calls for San Francisco to adopt reparations proposal. So, okay, why is this important, Yvette? Well, the same man is in here, right? Talking about it, and it seems to me, the Reverend Amos Brown, that he supports it in this article, right? So let's just go on. Let's just go on to this next part. The San Francisco chapter of the NAACP is calling on the city's Board of Supervisors to adopt recommendations of the city's Reparations Advisory Committee. Wait a minute, is that this NAACP? Is that the same San Francisco? Yeah, that's the same NAACP. So you was for it, and then you was against it. Oh, listen. I don't know how anybody expects to convince America what America should do if you don't know what you should do. If you don't know whether to take 2 steps forward or 2 steps back, if you don't know whether to scratch your watch or wind up your butt, I don't know how you plan on telling America what you need. This looks foolish. And of course, the tabloids came right in and they came right in and had a good time. But let me just show you this real quick. Among the recommendations is a $5 million lump sum payment to any eligible black resident of City Hall. The committee, resident of the city, I'm sorry. The committee has been working on its recommendations since June 2021, and the latest draft report is 60 pages and includes a history. They love to get these history lessons. What you need, though, is instead of a history, you need an actual study. Let me stop giving away free game. Child, includes history of black people in the U.S. and California. It also outlines a legacy of mistreatment over the last 2 centuries, starting with enslavement and continuing with modern-day institutional racism like redlining and targeting of black people by police. America, California, and San Francisco, it's time for you to make amends. To make amends and pay back, said Reverend Amos Brown, San Francisco's Reparations Committee member and NAACP president. You said it's time to make amends and pay back. Now let me come out of here for just 1 second. I saw somebody online say, well, Yvette, it's not that many black people. It's not that many, basically ADOS in San Francisco anyway. I don't care if it's 5. If there are 5 ADOS people who have a chance at some money or a redistribution of wealth, what does that mean? That it ain't a lot of them, they're nowhere. I don't care if it's 3. I don't care if you can't find but 1. What is the point of saying that to me? People say the wildest things and the dumbest things, and then want you to believe that they are I support. No, you don't. Don't lie to me. Just lie to somebody else. When you say, "Well, I'm in favor of ADOS, I want us to get our due." No, you don't. Just don't. You ain't got to lie to me. So Reverend Amos Brown, the man who just wrote the memo saying that he don't really do reparations. He want to do this thing with the schooling and whatever. He was in favor of it, right? Okay, let's keep going. While the committee does not make recommendations on how to pay for these programs, page 30 includes a list of ways to qualify, including being at least 18, identifying as black or African American for at least 10 years. And to me, I have a problem with not tracing back to slavery. Slavery. Everything is rooted in slavery. So if you take slavery out of the conversation, it's not reparations anymore anyway. I don't know what everybody's doing. Reverend Brown notes that the $5 million proposal has been controversial, but says he still supports it outright. Wait a minute now. What's going on? This was February. It's only March. If we were paid back, even the $5 million wouldn't be that much, said Brown. In 2021, Evanston, Illinois became the first U.S. city to offer reparations. Ooh, there go Robert Ruth Simmons again. The full San Francisco Board of Supervisors will be presented with the local reparations report on March 14th. So what happened? I don't know what happened. I don't know how we got from, I support it, to issuing this rejection, right? I don't know what happened. I don't know how we got from here to healthcare and this Fillmore Center. I do not know. But I think if I were to just kind of pull a rabbit out the hat, I would say that the man has always gotten it close to wrong. But what do you mean? Well, I want to remind everybody, when we were at the Atlanta Roundtable and Ron Daniels was there from NAACP, I want to remind you what he said. He said, when somebody said why Evanston is just a home refurbishment plan, which it is, the elders are dying, waiting for this home refurbishment plan, waiting to get some money to get new cabinets, which is not reparations, right? But when we asked him, somebody in the audience asked him, he said, why do you consider this reparations? He said, because it's something. Because it's something. And what's happening is, the way I see it, is you have a lot of older people who feel like they have fought for something all their lives that they're never going to see. And instead of saying, well, I'm going to leave this to the younger people, younger than me, not young, because I ain't young, and a lot of people involved in this are not young. I'm going to leave this to people younger than me to do. And I'm going to go over here. But I'm going to leave this to people. They're like, no, I want to see something. I've been fighting a long time. That's kind of part of wisdom, though. Sometimes, like, wise people know. This is how I know we don't have a lot of wise people in our community. Not nearly enough for the moment that we're in. Wise people know the thing I'm fighting for, I might not see. Now, I'm not talking about reparations specifically, but you might get reparations and then people have to start building, right? And they have to start building corporations, and they have to start building community, and they have to start investing. And so you might not see the fullness of that in your life, because that reparations money, that redistribution of wealth is seed money, where people start building lives and homes. And you may walk outside and drop dead of a heart attack. It don't even have to be old age. There's a lot of stuff, just because we human people, may not live to get to see. That doesn't mean you lowball it because you want to see it, or you feel that you have a right because of what you put in. You don't have a right to nothing. You have a right to fight for the right thing. You feel like you have a right. I've always been fighting for this, and if it's a chance to get it, I'm going to snatch it away, and I don't care if they send us 2 pennies. I want to be able to run outside and say, woo-wee, reparations. No. You have to do what's best for the collective. And if that means that the fullness of a thing, you won't get to see, then that's just your lot in life, and you gotta accept it. One of the real hallmarks of maturity is if you can just accept a life where you know you made the best contribution you could have. That's it. You have to find that peace within yourself. Life don't owe you nothing in terms of as an individual, that you just supposed to all of a sudden be able to claim something because you necessarily been fighting for it. No, you claim your contribution to it. Hey, I've been fighting for this, and I'm happy that y'all are fighting for this too, and I'm happy that we fighting for this, and I'm happy that we doing X, Y, and Z. But you can't just run out and snatch a crumb off a table just because you want to run outside and take a victory lap. Remember my show, Victory Laps Without Victory? No. That's not how this works. And if we look at this man's history, you can see that there are problems about, there were some things that always needed to be worked out about how he thinks about reparations. So let's go to this article. This article is from the San Francisco Chronicle, right? San Francisco should honor the memory of John Lewis with the reparations plan. This too is Amos Brown. So, okay, it looks like he's in favor of reparations, right? He said this about John Lewis. This is 2020. And so that's what it looks like. It looks like he wants to honor John Lewis with the reparations plan, right? Well, when you get to what he actually writes, if you research him, right? If you research him, what you realize is that it's always been kind of shaky. So when he goes on to write about what reparations looks about, he says deploy universal Wi-Fi for K through 12. Public schools in San Francisco will conduct their fall semesters online because of the COVID pandemic. Yet in black neighborhoods and public housing developments, few students have access to Wi-Fi that is essential to learning. The city is home to some of the largest and most successful technology companies in the world. This is an opportunity for companies like Salesforce, Twitter, Uber, and others to show they can deliver for. See, that's not reparations. So, I mean, even when you look up like a lot of the stuff you're saying, you're signaling to me already that, okay, this is not reparations. This is not reparations. And it's not about, I saw somebody in the chat, and I hear you say, well, Yvette, wouldn't you want a piece of this reparations? Like, if I thought we could get more later? No, you're trying to get the best. You're trying to get what's old. So if, like, let's say we have members of Congress who are holding up like the big package, and we know that we can negotiate something further down the line that's bigger and beautiful and more bountiful. I like the word bountiful. Like, it's more wealth. You got to go down the line. And it doesn't matter if I'm walking with a cane. It doesn't matter what's happening. And you could be messed up and be young. People always consider walking with a cane as old. No. If something happens where you can't say, no, we got to do this because I want to see it. That's selfish. That's selfish. If you know you got two Congress people who are coming in who have committed themselves to a big reparations package, you just can't say, oh, but I want to see it and I work so hard. No, everybody, you want people to just honor your contribution, right? But you want to get the best bang for the buck. You want to get what's best for the collective. Now, you don't want people to white you out, but that's the most you can hope for in life, is to make a contribution and have people honor that contribution. You don't get to say, I've been fighting for it. Y'all gonna eat this crumb, because I've been fighting for something for a long time, and now that y'all done got here and made it possible, everybody finna eat this crumb. You want to split this crumb? Because this crumb, wait a minute, I tell you what, I'm gonna take the most of the crumb. No, we ain't gonna split this crumb, I'm taking the most. That's what it looks like. But you can see from this that his view of reparations it really doesn't look like what our view would be anyway, right? I'm just listening. This came out today, a lot of stuff, there's a lot of stuff we don't know, right? So I'm just saying maybe, and listen, don't say, well, Yvette, you shouldn't say that. He should have, listen, there's a way he should have wrote it different. He do something differently, because that thing was just a black agenda thing. He revitalized the cultural. Now this is, understand, I don't want to lose this. This article says he wants to honor John Lewis with a reparations plan, but this is in 2020, and he keeps going to stuff that's not reparations. Right? Revitalize the cultural heart of Black San Francisco. The Fillmore District was once rightly known as the Harlem of the West until undone by the bulldozers and racism of urban renewal. The Heritage Center in the Fillmore represents the pillar around which we can rebuild that culture. It must be supported by a major financial infusion from the city's corporate philanthropic community to ensure the renaissance of the rich black culture and history. So you want digital technology and Wi-Fi for the kids. You want this Fillmore district back or whatever. None of this is reparations yet. Like, he's telling you, he told you in 2020. We're in 2023. He told you really what he thought reparations looked like. Create support systems for black and brown youth. Well, first of all, brown people are not in a reparations package for ADOS. So this is already, we got all kind of red flags flying, right? We got all kind of, and this is Amos Brown. This is him. So we already got all kind of, so many black youngsters in the city grow up in hellish conditions and housing developments and nearby neighborhoods that have been economically and socially marginalized by racism. Children are exposed to constant violence and poverty that has resulted from this marginalization. What we need is a place they can experience personal development and learn self-reliance. San Francisco owns Hidden Valley Ranch, land in La Honda that was home to a former minimum security prison. So, okay, I got you. So, but, and he goes on to say, We have a unique, none of this is reparations. So, there are always clues, and the man's history goes back to King. So there were always clues in terms of kind of where he stood in terms of reparations. And one of the people who and somebody who always posted about him and what he was doing was NAACP, right? Was NAACP. Black leaders in San Francisco urged city to donate historic center to black community as reparations. That was 2021. So if NAACP is supporting him and he's talking about reparations in terms of a black agenda, okay, I kind of see where this is going. And let me tell you the problem. Like, sometimes you just got to play stuff out. So let's play this all the way out. What happens if every time you get a reparations commission, like some stuff is just a flashpoint? What happens whenever you get a reparations commission and you have a Negro who flips? Boom. Well, you know what? I said last week I wanted the $5 million. Now I don't want it no more. Now what I really want is what I've been talking about. Y'all heard me talk about the stuff I was talking about. The kids and the computers and stuff. That's what I want. If you play it out, I always say, you play how you practice. Isn't that what the people say in sports? If you play that out, this happens. Even on a national level. They're not going to walk away from the negotiating table and say, this is not reparations, and this is where we park. They're going to get whatever they can. So if America is eating a bounty like it's Thanksgiving dinner and somebody hit them on the head with a dinner roll, they're going to jump, got it. I told y'all I was going to come out with something, didn't I? Came out with a dinner roll. They ain't the only ones eating. Yeah, they are. They're the only ones going to get full. You might stay alive. That dinner roll got like 200 calories. What you think we finna do with that? Well, at least we got something. It's food. No, it ain't. It's not a meal. You came out with a dinner roll. And you mess around and they promised us dinner rolls and pudding anyway. Which is like what the government promises people. So you mess around, what you wasn't even, you came in there, you were supposed to negotiate Thanksgiving all the time. We have our Thanksgiving table, we have a house and everything. You come out with a dinner roll. I don't know why you mad. Lord have mercy. You got these people everywhere. And the only way you defeat him or whoever decides that they gonna flop is you gotta be a better option. You have to be more informed. Right? You have to I work harder than this old person. You gotta do all of that. I do advocacy. Right? I do advocacy that impacts me and doesn't just make me feel special. I do advocacy that could garner reparations and a transformative black agenda, not just telling myself that I'm indigenous because it makes me feel strong and proud inside. Even if there were indigenous people who was enslaved, right? You got people that come from that. You got people that come from sharecroppers. Maybe they took your indigenous people, set them feathers on fly, and made them a slave. Let's say that happened. Now what? Now what? You see, that's the problem. The problem is people aren't thinking enough about what is the impact of my politics, not how the politics feels my self-esteem and I feel strong because of who I come from, right? And I'm going to say you not the real Indian, whatever. Let me tell you something. If the people who, and I don't want to just get on these indigenous people. I'm not trying to even do that. But what I'm trying to say is if they were on the verge of getting some money, right, from a tribe, Even if I had facts in my hand and said that ain't who y'all are, I wouldn't say a word. I would let them get whatever they was gonna get. Like if they convinced the Cherokees or somebody they was a part of them, even if they wasn't. And I'm not talking about the freedmen who really are and have a history. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about these other folks. Even if I know that they made up a whole story. If somebody had bought it, and that's not our situation, we know we come from America. We are American citizens of slavery. But I'm not getting in the way of nobody. They will call, I'm not no ADOS, I'm Chickasaw, Slewfoot, bow-legged. Get off the phone. No self-awareness at all. All because they've been watching YouTube. That's what we up against. I don't know how you get rid of black politics if you're trying to replace it with that. I just don't know. And there's no difference between you have either, you have the ADOS clones, and then you have the people who are claiming indigenous, then you have some other people, the man with the weird man with the science thing who always calls in talking about chemistry. I'm gonna tell you about chemical 0 and to the 2, and that's how you make graphite in the ground. You need some kind of assistance, some kind of help. You should be on disability. Like, what are you talking about? And no slight to anybody on disability, but this man has some kind of mental issue. Like, what is this? So is this some kind of new cult where y'all talk about we can grow graphite in the ground like we Wakanda? What is this? What was the stuff Wakanda had, y'all? What was that stuff? Oh my goodness, I ain't never seen such madness. But you kept saying like Amos Reverend Amos. He been talking about this Fillmore stuff, and Danny Glover and them. They been outside. Like, when I see somebody turn up this much in NARC, I have to think that maybe they're friendly with NARC and they have a relationship, which means they're not in favor of reparations. That's just what it is. I'm sorry. I don't mean no disrespect, but that's my takeaway from that. Child, please get him this Fillmore back too. I'm tired of hearing about the Fillmore. Please just I wish I had my own money where I could just buy you the Fillmore. So what happens is this just becomes jokes for right-wing tabloids. So now, because of that, we just the whole thing, well, there were a lot of reasons why the whole thing was becoming a butt of a joke, but now it's even more of a joke. So here go the tabloids. Daily Mail is a tabloid rag. So here go the tabloid rags. Just, they have fun when Negroes make mistakes. They have fun when Negroes do stupid stuff that don't make no sense. When you're just unserious and goofy. Woke Reparations Committee eats itself. What kind of headline is that? Now, this is a let me express again, this is a rag. But why would you give right-wing rags fodder? Why would you do that? Of all the things to do, why would you give them something else to just talk about and make fun of your goofy self? San Francisco Reverend who helped devise plans to hand city's black people $5 million now rejects idea alongside local NAACP chapter and says should go to community projects instead. I don't even understand how this man's on the commission. I wish him the best of luck, but I don't even understand this. I don't even understand how this happened. Can't nobody ever just step aside? And they were saying the same thing. Just jokes. Just make yourself the butt of all jokes. Reverend Amos Brown is the vice chair of Governor Gavin Newsom's 9-person reparations committee. He is also part of the San Francisco African American Reparations Advisory Committee, which published $5 million suggestion in December. But he has now said the money would be better spent in the community in a statement for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. And understand that the NAACP just ain't for us no more. It ain't been for us for a long time. But it ain't for us no more. And it certainly ain't for us if we weren't going to do anything about it. A while ago, and shout out to Reggie from Boston, because I put this up, he put up something, he put up a good tweet on Twitter, and he just said, like, listen, this is what Project Takeover was supposed to be about. And it is. Like, Project Takeover, it was supposed to be so you could be in that NAACP branch and be like, no, we're not doing this. I will cause a whole mutiny. So you would have some ADOS people in there. But you had the people who are now leading splinter groups saying, Yvette, this is just, I don't see why we're doing this, and it don't make no sense. And oh my God, all the backbiting, all of this stuff. It was because you want to spread your influence. So you don't want to just have influence in the ADOS Advocacy Foundation. That is our main thing. But you want to have people over there. You want to also know what they're doing. We got people over there who listen. They know what's going on. They know what the plans are. It's all strategic. But no, we don't want to do that. And I told them, I said, listen, no, we want to start out. I said, listen, if young wolves overtake old wolves, they don't build new forest. You take over. You don't just go and be like, well, I'm going to find a new forest. These wolves are old. Right? So that was the point of Project Takeover, which was announced at the 2019 conference. Everybody and their mama started having issues with it. We had some success too. I remember the young lady from the Philly Inquirer, but still, some Negroes just don't want to. Some Negroes just refuse to tell the truth, which is that you just don't like work. You only like a microphone. Oh, put a microphone in front of your face. You got something to say. You can say whatever. You can say something from a microphone. You can tweet all day. But when somebody says, hey, join this org too and do some stuff over there and find out what's going, well, I don't think I should do that. I think I just ought to be able to sit in the house, talk on the phone to my bros. I just ain't never seen nothing happen if you don't do work, though. You call yourself boots on the ground all day. Running around hollering. What is the efficacy of all of this? So now you see the importance of all of this. Let me tell you, it comes around. It comes around. Always comes around. It always comes around. We don't know what we doing. Oh, they chuckling. Oh, they chuckling. I want you to feel that headline in your soul. They chuckling. I want you to just feel. It's just how to. You should never give somebody that kind of raggedy headline. You should never give somebody that headline. Never. And understand, this is the last thing I'll say. When people say that, I think you have to also say, when people say, we don't need a reparation, we just need schools and internet and whatever. You have to understand that there's a seed of pathology in there. In terms of black pathology, that there's a seed of eugenics in there. There's a seed of anti-ADOSness in there, right? Because what goes with the idea that all we need is more schools and stuff is that, like, we're doing something wrong. And if we had more education or if we, knew how to do better, we could be better. And it just goes to show that they don't understand wealth. They haven't studied the plunder. And they have gotten a lot of accolades and attention because they were around with King or they were whatever. And it's just not a good metric. Who they were with or whatever. Like, what have you done for me lately? I appreciate everything that you've done or whatever. But it's not just about that. It's about your level of expertise. It's about your vision. And when you say that's, and when you paint this as reparations, you show me that you don't have the understanding of this moment, the understanding of history, the understanding about wealth to inform you to be able to do anything that benefits anybody in this moment. And that lets me know that you need to sit down. And for a lot of people, it's time to retire. And it's time for us to overtake. When I'm talking about you all. I'm not talking about just younger people or whatever. Because there was a lot of younger people that called in to the OMB, and I don't know who their mamas and daddies is, or I don't know, but we got to do better. I'll end it at that. Set up the phones if you want to call in. It's too much. This is the recklessness, the no forethought. The elders are being reckless. They just, the young people are calling in saying, I got a feather in my cap. It's or I don't want to be none of this, or I don't even want race at all. Somebody said, I don't believe in race. I want to see your checkbook. Your checkbook believes in race. A whole Negro calling in talking about it's just too much. Everybody, this is too much. This is some kind of collective illness or something. I don't know what it is, but we better figure it out. And America does not care if we figure it out now. America will let us die. That's just what it is. And life will let you die. That's just nature. Nature will take your bones. That's it. And it'll and will not care. So let me set up the phones, fam, and we will have the conversation as usual. Give me a couple minutes to set it up, and then we will come back and we will chit and chat. All right, fam. All right. We are back. We are back. We are back. I am going to, y'all in here tonight. I'm going to the first call. I am going to 707 707. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
This is Dee from California, San Francisco area in particular.
What's going on, Dee?
Hi, Yvette. I love you for putting on this show. We need this. We need this. We need this. We've been working and pushing and demanding these reparations. We threw out that amount, and it wasn't a single amount. It was a start amount, an initial down payment with follow-up payments like they've been doing for the Indians. We wanted this payment immediately to be paid out while they continue to extend these meetings out and all this endless talk to just keep talking and keep talking. Reverend or doctor or whatever he called himself, Amos Brown, sat like a snake in the grass, giving all these powerful, fantastic speeches like he was for the reparations, for the people to set this model to show that, like Evanston and all these other frivolous things called reparations that have nothing to do with repairing the harm, we were going to set this standard. Only for him to slide in and sabotage this effort to redirect it to these scandalous nonprofits. Now, mind you, I'm also part of a nonprofit, so I have nothing against those nonprofits that are really doing some positive things in our communities. It takes a village.
Yep.
It takes us all. But I would not even recommend reparations come through my nonprofit. It should be separate and apart. And if Amos was really about doing fairness by our people, he would have suggested both. He would not have been trying to do this money grab to circumvent these reparations that is due our black people who are victims and continue to be victimized by chattel slavery. He would not have tried to circumvent them dollars, and that's exactly what he did, because he's over this San Francisco Heritage Center that he's trying to say that, you know, they want the money to go through. He's the president over NAACP, and we know that is one of the most worthless organizations. We need to retire them like tonight. And we need to call and demand everybody on that roster, because I don't know if y'all watched the meeting yesterday, but every non-black person on that board of supervisors said, we support the reparations and we're ready to pass this today. And it was the one black supervisor who, mind you, is tied into these scandalous, scamming nonprofits, that he's the one that asked for an additional extension of this vote, pushing it out until September. He pushed it out from February. We were supposed to have this vote in February, but he was too busy partying in Colombia for his birthday, too busy to get back and take a vote on the reparations for Black History Month. Now I'll stop there.
Ooh, well, let me ask you a question. Don't this, to me, it's kind of eerie, right? Because it reminds me a lot of like when I look at Cam Howard and Reparations United, when I look at Cobra and stuff, and I look at them talk about the money for nonprofits that's going to come from HR 40 with the study. I think it's like $20 million over a couple of years, right? When I just for the study. When I see that, I see like this race, right? For that nonprofit money, but not a race to get money, to get reparations and redress for the people. It seems like the same thing, just a smaller kind of in a smaller area, San Francisco, as opposed to like HR 40. But it seems like the same thing.
It is. It's a different animal. I think with the same skin, but they just labeled it differently. Is how I can put it. But the whole point is we should have never had an HR 40 to begin with. Don't we have 400 years of documentation?
We do
already. So why did we need to study this? Did they not let the Asians come in with their fabricated anti-black hate, who are some of the most racist there is, and put together a legislation? And San Francisco did a reparations fund for them in 37 days. How is it we supposed to study for 2 or 3 more years what is already on the book.
Well, and the thing is, there are so many books. Like, you listen, ain't nobody wrote on nothing more in this country than the oppression of the Negro, except for maybe the Civil War, World War I, and World War II. Like, we have more than enough to know. We don't, like, this study ain't nothing but stalling. That's what I study. Like, all this studying is just stalling. So, it is what it is.
It is what it is. So I just ask, please, and I can share the numbers, please call. We have a roster of the names of the supervisors and demand that they put this back on next month's calendar and pass this thing. We need to stand up and call out Brown and any of these other detractors or ops and call them out and put them on display and put the lights out. Ain't no time to play with these people no more. It is time to call them all out.
Well, drop your link in the chat for everybody. I appreciate you. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
Woo. Y'all talking tonight. This is 909. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what's on your mind?
Hey, this is Dr. Soul Brother. How's everything?
Pretty good, Dr. Soul Brother. How's everything with you?
Not too bad. First, I want to say I appreciate and salute what you're doing with your channel. I have to salute you for kicking off this whole thing regarding ADOS. I'm actually started my own channel just the other day, so just thought I'd put that out there. But that's not the reason why I called. Okay. The reason why I called is because this thing is very serious. I got a chance to watch the interview that you did with Rock Newman. Okay. And before I watched it, I decided to go back and watch the interview with Ron Daniels. And I'm going to tell you something. These folk are a problem, and they've been a problem for a minute. It is time for them to to sign off on their retirement card. And what people don't understand is they've done a lot of damage. What do I mean? When this thing, if you think back to, let's say, the 1990s, and people were talking about reparations, I mean, they were talking about reparations before then, but I'm citing the 90s to make a point. And Cobra and all them, I used to hear about them. And when I would hear them say, well, we're pushing for reparations for people of African descent, what a lot of us didn't understand, or didn't catch, was, in truth, they weren't about delineation back then. What they were was about black folks, irrespective of where you're from. You know, that's tantamount to being in line to get something, and somebody cuts in the line, and not only are they cutting the line, which is rude, but the worst part is you don't qualify to be in this line. That's the equivalent of what they've been doing. And so when you came along and you put out this thing about delineation, that's when the trouble started. Because think about it. When people talk about, what's that group, they come out the Caribbean.
CARICOM.
CARICOM, thank you. When CARICOM come up, you think about it. They started talking about getting reparations from over here. They didn't start that until they heard from people like Ron Daniels, Greg Carr, all those folks that you think about it. That's when it started, and what that did, that gave them a sense of entitlement. It did. It gave them a sense of entitlement. I don't care what we say. Okay? And so what has happened is, I'm telling you, everybody, if we're not careful, if this thing is not handled properly and you don't stand on your square, you run the risk of this ship sinking. It's real simple. Reparations deals with slavery. And so you think about it, to try to double dip like that is rude and disrespectful. The Ray Winbush and all them, he was on another platform saying something about BS lineage. Well, he just spoke the quiet part out loud. And so for when and another thing that Ron Daniels did I didn't like, aside from the reparations thing, did you notice when he was on Rock Newman, and I'm going to call him out on this one, when he said, well, what do you say about Malcolm X's family who's Caribbean? First of all, the only Caribbean person in Malcolm's family was his mother.
Well, they act like his father doesn't exist. They act like Malcolm's father doesn't exist.
I didn't hear you.
No, I just said they act like it's, people talk about the erasure of black men. They act like Malcolm's father just didn't exist. Like he didn't exist.
Thank you. Thank you. They just disregard his daddy altogether. And that's down downright rude and disrespectful. And that's a problem. If you think about it, that's a recent thing. But that's what he did. He said his family is from the Caribbean. So in other words, you're just going to discount his daddy altogether. You discount his black American lineage in this country. That's real telling. And guess what? Ron Daniels, he's an ADOS person doing this. He's some foreigner doing this. You see where I'm going with this?
Mm-hmm.
It's people like that is the reason why these black foreigners, the ones who are like this, that's why they become emboldened. You did that with your mouth.
Well, have you seen his conference? Like it's a, you know, I honestly feel like this is what I feel. So I went back and watched some videos of Ron Daniels years ago. And he used to just talk very normal in a lot of ways. He had problematic politics in some ways. But, you know, suit and tie, I'm talking to you about what our leaders have to do in America. It almost feels like he wasn't successful in that. And so what happens is now he's decided everything's going to be Africa. Like even his conference, it's like, I think it's the foreign minister of Bermuda. He's got the president of Ghana. Like the focus is not on this country or ADOS in this country at all.
That's been the problem with a lot of these folks. These so-called Pan-Africanists, or the ones who are Afrocentric, whatever they call themselves, whenever they start saying things like, well, we're Africans, we're not Americans, you know what you're doing? Every time you say, well, this is not my country, the white racists on the sideline saying, yes.
Yeah,
when you say, we're not Americans, they're on the sideline saying, yes. In other words, that's language, that's you saying exactly what they want you to say.
And hold on, fam.
That's what you're doing.
And hold on, fam. You're doing one more thing. So one thing, you're right. You're making racists happy because they want you to say, I'm African. They want to say, take your butt back anyway. The second thing you're doing is that you're centering somebody else. Nobody else does that. You're centering other people in a different continent and saying, I'm African American. So you're centering them. So of course people make movies that go along with your psyche. If your psyche centers Africans and Africanness, you're going to get Lion King, you're going to get Wakanda, you're going to get all sorts of things that center Africans and Africanness because that's what you center instead of centering yourself and your story. Hollywood reflects that. And I think it's a chicken or egg kind of situation whether Hollywood implanted that or whatever. But of course they're going to keep doing that if they know that like Negroes will come out if it's an Africa story. They don't want to hear about what happened in their life or what happened there, but they're going to come out. When it's time for Africa, they're going to come out.
I mean, just look at what some people do with Black History Month. Black History Month, first of all, as you know, it was Negro History Week with Carter G. Woodson. Then it morphed into Black History Month. And for the record, we're the ones who pushed and got ourselves Black History Month. White folks did not give us Black History Month. But anyway, the point I'm making is this. Now, when you think of Black History Month, it's now inclusive of all these other folks who don't have roots here. You know good and well you could not do that in Guyana, Jamaica, Trinidad, or any other place.
And I wouldn't try. Here's the thing, though, fam, and I'm going to let you have the last word. I wouldn't try to do that nowhere. I would never go to another country and try to center myself. If I go to another country, whatever y'all doing, that's what I'm doing. What we doing? Because you tell me what you're doing. This is your home. What y'all doing? Because I'm for that one. Are we celebrating Caribbean month or whatever? Oh, okay. Are we celebrating? Okay, what we doing? Celebrating the colonization or the end of colonization? Okay, wait, that's what I'm doing. Like, I'm going to do whatever you're doing. Like, we have the opposite. Like, people come over here, be brand new, and we follow them. Where they do that at? You the oldest American. So I'm going to let you finish up, fam. I got to go to the call lines are busy tonight, though, so I got to wrap it up.
Well, I'm just going to say this and end it. Greg Carr, he's got that bad himself. He got that real bad. He will not embrace his ethnicity. He will continue to say, we're Africans, this, Africans, that, but yet he'll refer to Pele as Afro-Brazilian. He'll refer to that sister in Colombia as Afro-Colombian. Oh, so we can't be African-American? We can't be Americans? We can't be Black Americans? Come on, man. But do you have your email? Because I would love to forward some stuff to you.
Yeah, just send it to editor@breakingbrown.com. I'll get it.
Say it again?
Editor@breakingbrown.com. Just send it there. I'll get it.
Okay, do I scroll or?
Scroll where? No, just if you send an email, just send it to editor@breakingbrown.com. And I'll get the email.
Oh, editor@breakingbrown.com. Okay.
Yeah, editor.
Okay,
I'm sorry. Editor@breakingbrown. Yeah. Thank you, fam. I appreciate you.
Okay.
You have a good one.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Going to my next call. I am going to 360. 360. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, President Yvette, this is Antoine calling in from Seattle.
Hey, Antoine, what's going on?
Well, you know, the last thing that you said in your broadcast brought...
You still there, fam? I can't hear you. Antoine, I'm not hearing anything. Going once, going twice. Something probably be going on with these phones. Call back, Antoine. I'm not hearing nothing. Let me go to gosh, I got two of them. Let me go to 91758. I hate to try to 91758 because I got two almost the same. 91758. I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi.
Hey.
Hi, Yvette.
Hey.
I just want to thank you so much for your platform. You've been a great influence. I'm starting to do the work, and I'm getting involved with my local assemblywoman and with ADOS. I just want to build upon what the last caller said. We are definitely experiencing the same thing here in New York. I'm really concerned that a lot of people that are not ADOS are entering into this arena, and they're making sure that they draft the legislation so that they're included. A lot of people from the Caribbean that have just arrived and that have not experienced the same discrimination that we have as African Americans, and that in my own community that discriminate against me a lot of times, saying that I have no culture and all these other things. This has been going on for quite some time, and even now, Jabari Brisport and a lot of other politicians, they are actually, openly saying, oh, I'm from Caribbean heritage, but now all of a sudden when it comes to reparations, now all of a sudden you want to draft the legislation so that it fits you and so that you can claim it. And I'm just very concerned about this, which is why I'm trying to work within my government to make sure that I can have some influence so that these things don't happen, because I'm just really tired of it. We even had an incident in New York City today, and I'm sick of, brown people being included in Black People's Initiative. We had an incident in New York City on Friday where a Black autistic boy was beaten up.
I saw that. I heard about that.
Youth. And it's just, every time that we have legislation that directly addresses, that is supposed to directly address what has been stolen from us, our inheritance, what we're supposed to be owed, regardless, it's always a problem. You can never have anything without including another group. And it's just sickening. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for calling in, fam. And I think it's good that you're getting involved. I think that's, we all got to get involved politically. We have a culture of sometimes talking about politics. I think we have to have a political culture of talking about all this stuff. But, thank you, fam. I appreciate you. We have to have a political culture of talking about all this stuff, but it can't end there. Like, talking is the beginning of, like, okay, let's figure it out. It ain't just like it ain't just, it ain't that, well, like, if you go and watch a basketball game, that's all you really can do is talk. You're never gonna be LeBron. You're never gonna, it's a spectator sport. Politics is not a spectator sport. You spectate, yes, but you do something, and you do something before you vote. So I think we got to do both. I'm going to my next caller. I am going to 214. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Yvette.
Hey, what's going on?
Hi, this is Lily in Louisiana. I was just thinking that Reverend John Amos, he really betrayed the NAACP. He's a traitor.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you good, fam. Speak up a little bit for me, or you sound a little muffled.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said I believe. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Okay. I believe that Reverend Amos Brown betrayed the NAACP, and he's a traitor. I don't believe that everybody in the NAACP is that way. And I think that he probably was bought and sold. And that's it.
Well, shouldn't Derek Johnson come out and say something then? Like, if there's a branch that did something that not only went against some of the people in the NAACP, but maybe it went against, like, the NAACP came out, if they come out and said they believe in reparations, shouldn't they come out and say this goes against our belief system or whatever?
Yes, I believe that, they should. They should, every NAACP really should denounce what Reverend Amos did. It was uncalled for. And if they probably need to search and see what's going on in San Francisco as far as the NAACP and find out if there was a kickback, because it sounds like he got paid.
Okay. Well, I thank you, fam. I appreciate you calling in. I agree. I'm all in favor of an investigation. Check the account.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate you calling in. Yeah, money don't lie. Check. I'm all for checking the deposits, but it could be what the other caller said. You're instead of being paid, you're counting on something. Somebody may have told you if the money come through, whatever little nonprofit you have or you gonna have or be associated with, child, it's a lot going on. That's all. It's a lot going on. 360. I'm coming back to you.
Hi, this is Antoine from Seattle again. I don't know what happened earlier. The phone just cut off. But I was saying Boondocks, cartoons, social commentary, things like that. But ironically, there's a character in the show, the grandpa. He's taking care of his 2 grandchildren. His name is Robert Freeman. And Robert Freeman, in the universe of the show, is a famous civil rights activist. His grandson Huey is like a culmination of this Black Power movement. You would have to watch the show to get more context. But what I wanted to say to draw from that, just what you said in the last bit of your broadcast, is that Robert Freeman, they cut back to the episode where he was sitting on a couch and a guy comes in telling him he needs to come out because Martin King is marching. He's talking about how he got bitten in the behind by a dog and all the stuff like that. But Robert's still on the sofa, following his on, saying, I ain't going out. But then several years later, decades later, he's being awarded for being a civil rights leader. So just drawing parallels between that and real life, where there might be a lot of people who, older ADOS people, boomers, in their early, late teens, early 20s, that the older generation at that time who are still surviving today, who didn't necessarily follow Dr. King and who didn't really contribute to the push, but still benefited from his death and the legacy he left behind. But then now somehow are civil rights leaders of the modern era because the ADOS people of today don't have a contextual understanding or a context for like what went down. So it's like they're viewing these old people who it's something that you said, and I think Tone talked on it too, where it's like every old person isn't necessarily an elder. They don't have they might have experience, but that experience isn't functional, and they didn't use that experience to grow and develop more functional thought within the Black community, the ADOS community. I guess I'm struggling to put it together, but it's just funny to me how both the liberals and the conservatives, they always seem to find these people and then push them to the center. Like these people are coming out of nowhere and taking over a movement that they had no input in.
Well, it's just like
it just seems to me that maybe our enemies have a book, a list of people that they know who they can pull from and push out front and center.
Yeah, and you know what? I think he has a picture with King, right? And I think for some people they have a picture and that gives them like a glow. You know how some people in hip hop now, they get beside somebody who's hot and it's just like to warm up. And it's kind of like but I'm at the point, and I agree with you. I think some of these people have just said I'm watching King. They know they didn't have no social media, and a lot of people are dead, and they can get away with it. I agree with that. But I think another thing that happens too is that, like, even if you did that, how long can you hold on to that? Really, that when we look at when King died, right? We go from there to 2023. How long do we allow you? How long do we not step into our own leadership positions because you march with King? Like, how long do we wait? Like, if you have something to impart or to share, that's great. But you cannot continue to say, hey, don't live life. Don't take, don't take leadership for your life and don't, but because I marched with King. Like, how long do you let somebody, there has to be an expiration date on that, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, there should be. I mean, I agree with you, but I mean, like you said earlier, that there's a anti-intellectual spirit amongst adults, unfortunately, and it's just people refuse to pick up a book and read. They rather, I don't know, listen to. Yes, I don't know.
Yeah, I appreciate you, fam. Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate that. Yeah, I believe that too. But I think there has to just, even if it's true, there has to be an expiration date. Like, it can't just be after King died. You can still say 40, 50, like however long I marched with King. Okay, and what now? Like, write a book and put all your lessons in there and we'll read the book. Stop telling me, though, that you get to come over here and do all this stuff because you did that thing over there. Like, it's like our lives don't matter and we can't have a contribution to our lives in this moment because you marched with King. It's an expiration date on that. That milk is sour. Okay? Like, let me go to the next call. I am going now to 484. 484, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
How you doing? I'm Tristat.
Hey.
I've called you before, Yvette. Wonderful to talk to you. I wanted to say something about Pan-Africanism and these Cobra people.
Okay.
They shouldn't even be part of reparations. Most of them have lived their lives being anti-American dollar. For them to even be involved in the conversation where they're anti-America, they shouldn't even be in this discussion. Like, if you're against America and it's dealing with Africa and all of that, and you got all this hatred and you lived all this life of fighting against and railing against what America does and stuff like that, why are you even in this discussion that you created, that was created by you and Tom?
Well, hold on. And let me just say this too. Like a lot of them, like, I don't even, like, they're not reparations organizations, right? Because you can't say that we're all the same, we're all African, we're all in this together, screw America, and then say, give me some money. But go on, fam, just to what you were saying, but go on, finish, I'm sorry.
On top of the way you framed it and correctly framed it, we're trying to make America better. We're trying to be better Americans. If you've lived your life anti-American, your adult life anti-American, how are you even in this space talking? It makes no sense. And that's all I wanted to say.
I agree.
We need to just push them out of the way and do what we need to get done.
Appreciate it, fam. Thank you so much for calling in. And I think, people, the other thing people do is they start calling us because we want redress. Well, y'all are imperialists. No, like, you don't say that about Native Americans when they say we were done wrong. When we have treaties that need to be honored. You don't say that about them. You don't say that about what happened with the Japanese Americans. Why do you say that, like, getting redress? It's only the Pan-Africanists who say getting redress is somehow imperialist. I'm not in support of imperialism. I honestly think that if we do what we're supposed to do and we do it right and we operate from a moral high ground, that we should be the most anti-imperialist people here, because even if for no other reason than a selfish reason, how are you going to pay reparations if you just keep having these adventures abroad everywhere? And then given how we have been oppressed in this country, we should be sympathetic to America making the rubble bounce all around the world. We should be very sympathetic to that because we have existed and we have experienced that kind of terror internally. So it's always wild when people say that, but Pan-Africans just say anything like they live in another world sometimes, right? And I'm not trying to be mean to them or whatever the case may be. I'm speaking specifically not the general, because I think general Pan-Africanism is more of a sentiment, right? And I'm not even opposed to a sentiment where you just want people who are African or may have some African descent to do well in the world and not be oppressed in the world. That is a sentiment, and I'm not opposed to the sentiment. What I'm opposed to is this idea that it has some kind of political efficacy when we have seen no proof of concept ever. And no country says, I'm fighting. There's no country or group of countries that's fighting for everybody black. Nobody is doing the Issa Rae of politics. Everybody's fighting for their specific little place, and they're fighting against and demanding something from the specific European country or European colonizer, whoever who did whatever to them. In our case, we are still here. So it's just kind of the most ridiculous, dumbfounded thing to do as a political project, not as a sentimental project. So let me go to my next call. I'm going to 360. 360, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, that is AJ out of North Carolina.
What's up, AJ?
Now, much great show tonight. I think it's appropriate, especially after seeing that Rock Newman interview. And for the family that hadn't seen that, definitely go check that out. Because once again, Yvette gives a master class, and I think it gives a lot of context to the show and to the topic tonight, for sure. The next thing, just to keep it moving, is I want to say to the caller from San Francisco, I'm out here in North Carolina, and you know, Adolph's family is everywhere. We hear these stories. Y'all keep your foot on the gas. Really, we really do. We talk about it. If we was there, trust me. We wish we could, but Adolph's life. And on the point of them pointing out Malcolm's Caribbean mother, you know, I think our claim of lineage just already has that covered. Because there's plenty of white people in all of our ancestry because, you know, this thing started during slavery.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So it's about lineage and the lineage connection. Just because one ain't somewhere down all of our lines, you know, probably somebody white. I know for mine, myself, that's confirmed. And then to the Black History point, and everybody horning in on our month. I think that was an excellent point, and for everybody that you know, they don't do it on St. Patty's Day.
Oh.
You know, here in America, you know, it's not, and I think that should be something that we all can see, just to highlight the push. And then the last note is just to double down on something that you said, and it's about what's best for the collective, Yvette, and with everybody, and calling OMB, and these people trying to push these different projects that are individual based and away from our justice claim. We just all have to remember it's about the collective. It is, and it's time for us to step into our roles in that.
Absolutely.
And we can volunteer at your local city. So one of the things I did is I went on my local city website. I looked at event planning committees and for architecture and everything local. They accept volunteers. So we can apply and start getting in there on volunteers. I'm trying it out here in my city because we kind of need to continue to collect the information. You know, kind of one of the things you said is, you know, find out what was done locally. Through this search and through ADOS, I found out one of the things in my historical society here, and I have it right here, just real quick, if you don't mind, I wanted to read it, but it's a proclamation out of the New England African American Neighborhoods Historical Society study, and it says this. It says, among the early residents who built up the colonial seaport community were many African Americans. Slave labor was the foundation of the Carolina colony. One of the first acts of Lord Proprietor upon receiving title to the Carolinas in 1633 was to issue a proclamation offering land to settlers bringing slaves. Newcomers received 20 acres for every Negro male slave and 10 acres for every Negro female slave imported into the colony the first year, and similar incentives were offered in subsequent years. And to that, for all the you know, the Native American, you know, we the original blacks. Yeah, well, if you were original black around here and you look like the same slave that was brought here, Do you not think you got cashed in for 20 acres? I'm pretty sure you did.
I ain't seen no.
And so it's lineal connections, because here in North Carolina we have a lot of those ADOS that claim that, oh, well, we was always here. And I tell them, yeah, well, you probably got wrapped up in.
Yeah, you wasn't free, and you can say, I haven't seen, people try to make up whole worlds that don't exist. Well, I don't see no story. Well, we was all free. It was a whole bunch of us over here free, and we was watching, and we was watching all these other people get enslaved, and it's just like, dude, no, you got wrapped, you got scooped right up. If that was you, I'm just saying hypothetically, you got scooped right up, child. You wasn't. But go on, I'm gonna let you.
And I tell them all the time. I say, well, where's the inheritance?
Yep. And that's the key.
And that usually kills it right there.
That's the key. Where's your inheritance? If your people was free, so if you saying your people was free and they never was enslaved, they never was. Okay, wasn't they making bank just like the white man? You said it just like the white man, and the difference was they wore feathers. What was they stuff at? What happened to it? Okay, so if we're trying to get redress for everybody, what's the problem? Why you want to call in and say you don't want to be called the thing that's going to lead to the path for you to get redress? If you say you indigenous and you sovereign or whatever your case is, you're not going to get anything. I'm beginning to wonder about all these people who are saying stuff on the internet. But I'm going to let you finish. Let me wrap it up right now, fam, so we can go to the next topic.
That's all I had right there.
Okay.
Is that, let somebody else get in, but love it. Keep the foot on the gas.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. I appreciate that, fam. And you listen, these, the chapters are launching very, very soon. But it's what he's saying is so important, because that doesn't mean that a year ago, 6 months ago, like, you couldn't be going and getting to know things so that you are effective inside of the ADOS chapter, right? So that you are doing work inside of the movement that we're doing. So that's really important to kind of like be doing push-ups for the season start. 917, I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Is that me?
That's you?
Oh, okay. Hey, this is Stephanie. I'm calling from New York.
Okay.
I actually joined late, and so hopefully I'm not going over something you guys spoke about earlier, but okay. I just happened to have heard earlier today that there is legislation percolating through the New York Assembly right now that, as I mentioned in the chat, has been crafted by Ron Daniels and then Cobra, mm-hmm. and is centered around, the way they do it. And I did not know if there is a New York chapter that's active or launching soon, as you're mentioning. But I wanted to make sure that put a red flag on that.
And we were talking about this because we had some ADOS people. There were some ADOS people at the last meeting who confronted that. We got to get people shirts until we officially launch. We got to get people shirts so that you can identify them when you go, and you'll know so that when they launch, y'all will already really be a chapter. But yeah, we had some people who were there who came back and told us what happened and who like it was confrontational. But let me just point to one thing that you said that's very important too. Ron Daniels is engaging in a very undemocratic process across America. And what I say that is that he is basically reaching out to all of these local people and saying you have to or you should use Evanston as a model, and they're not taking a vote. Like in terms of I'm talking about in terms of bringing the citizens in and having a hearing. The only way we got in at Atlanta is because somebody sent me an invite. It was not publicized. Like it wasn't like they had one thing in New York but by the time you get to the hearing, they've already said they're going to use Ron Daniels stuff. So like the way they're doing this, citizens of every city and municipality where they're using Evanston as the model should be pissed off because you all did not vote on this being a model. Nobody came in and said, should we use Evanston as a model? Like Ron Daniels is behaving as a dictator in terms of going around behind closed doors. And by the time, listen, when we got to Atlanta, they already had a sheet of paper and it had a proclamation on it. And with their intention to use Ron Daniels, Evanston and Robert Ruth Simmons as the model. They already had that set up. That should not be set up when you walk into the room. And that lets you know how Ron Daniels operates. That lets you know that he's not interested in the people, he's interested in power. And he's never really had the kind of power in his life that he wants, and he sees the opportunity now. But he's engaged in a very undemocratic process. And what we'll try to do, fam, is get the people who are in New York, you know, when they go out again, so that people can have like ADOS shirts or whatever, so that you know who those people are. Also, if you could DM me or message me and just say, hey, this is so and so from New York, so I can give them a name if they're when they're going to be new sessions or whatever's going to happen there, so that maybe we can coordinate something if chapters haven't launched. But yeah, we have people there. We haven't launched a chapter, but I know that. But yeah, this is a very undemocratic process. And NAACP is not concerned about what the people want; they're concerned about what they can get.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you. It is very undemocratic, and it's very, very heavy-handed, and I'm just concerned that they're going to slip it through before anybody gets a chance to, to challenge them. Mm-hmm. And it does need to be challenged on a at the level that they're operating on. As it is right now, it hasn't been addressed by the Senate, according to my understanding, but I just heard about it today. So yeah, I will definitely DM you on how do you do that on Twitter, Instagram?
You can just email me at editor@breakingbrown.com, editor@breakingbrown.com, if somebody wants to put that in the chat too. You can just email me too if you want to. If you don't want to go through that, you can just email me with your name, and I called in last night, whatever the case may be, so that I can kind of put you on the radar for somebody who wants to kind of be a part of what's going on. But yeah, I know what you're talking about, and they went back and forth at that meeting or whatever it was, and it was like it's just it's awful, it's undemocratic. But thank you, fam, I appreciate you. Yeah, it's crazy. You have a good. All right, now, bye. Yeah, if Ron Daniels was really concerned and really wanted to hear from the people, and he was really concerned and he was really down for black people, he wouldn't do that. Like he would say, hey, let's talk about this. Let's talk about what this is look like. He goes behind closed doors. By the time you go into the room, they already have a framework. And a lot of politicians, not all, are very lazy, right? Not everybody. We had a good conversation in Atlanta, so I'm not talking about Atlanta at all. But if somebody already has a plan, they already, that's the same way they do bills or whatever. So if somebody calls and say, I got what you need to use, and you can just microwave this, it's very undemocratic. By the time you get in the room, he's already been on the phone. The man sees his opportunity to have some power that he's craved all his life that he ain't never had, and he's older. You got to watch that. I'm going to 910. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on, Miss Yvette? This is Christian from Fayetteville, North Carolina. How you doing this evening?
Pretty good, Christian. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. Once again, just want to give you your flowers. Another amazing, brilliant show as always. I did want to just say this real quick, so I'm surprised nobody said it in the chat. The thumbnail was ridiculous. I mean, that was hilarious. I had to get myself together before I even called in.
Wasn't that them? That's them, though, ain't it? They be out there. They don't get nothing right. Just Muppets in the street. I'm sorry.
That's exactly what it is. But I just wanted to come in and say and kind of give you and the fam a little update and possibly even help get you guys involved with something. So I've been getting as active as I possibly can with letting people know about ADOS. So not just talking about it. I've now been the first person in my city to actually formally bring ADOS to the forefront in the newspaper and radio, and even in like local television interviews that I was doing, and not just saying the acronym, but kind of giving a spotlight to the justice claim, and a lot of people were kind of understanding more about the lineage. And so with that, I was on a panel, and we were talking about the killing of Mr. Tyree Nichols, and we were able to get connected with a retired Chief Deputy U.S. Marshal, Dr. Matthew Fogg, who has been doing it for well over 30 years, but he's also been fighting the U.S. Department of Justice for well over 20 years now. And he beat the Department of Justice in a racial discrimination case back in '98. And then at this moment, he is currently representing 10,000 black U.S. Marshals against the U.S. Department of Justice right now. The reason I'm bringing this up is he has never heard of ADOS, the Advocacy Foundation, at all. And the reason that I've been able to speak with him about these things is because he's also my uncle. I've spent a lot of intimate time with him and learned a lot about his story and us having the same background and being rooted in this nation and understanding what it means to be ADOS. So I just introduced to him what's been happening with the OMB and trying to figure out. And I actually sent you and I believe Ja'Cory Arthur and Mr. Antonio an email kind of detailing what's happening with that. But he's currently representing 10,000 Black U.S. Marshals, and I feel like if we could at least introduce this information to them, that's 10,000 people that he can reach with the message that can also in turn give us, the support that we need in order to push the agenda forward, and that's on a federal level. And he's been a whistleblower on all types of corruption that's been happening, including Mr. Alante Scott, who is a kid in D.C. that just got shot 7 times in the back by U.S. Marshals. Never made national news or anything like that, but this is the stuff he deals with every day.
Okay. Can I ask you a question, fam? Which email did you send it to?
I'm sorry, one more time?
Can I ask you which email you sent it to for me?
It should have been the editor at breakingground.com.
Okay. Just want to know. Yeah, just want to know what it looked.
The one it was sent to.
If you just want to know what it looked. Thank you. Okay. I'm sorry. I just wanted to know what to look for it at. You still there, fam?
Yeah.
Okay. You can continue. You can continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, but that's what I've been trying to get involved in. And then another cool thing is, so I took some time away from doing my talk show that I was doing, and I actually got a really great in-depth interview with Dr. Fogg, and he was going into detail about a lot of what he was talking about. Talking about how the U.S. Marshals were purposefully targeting ADOS neighborhoods in Baltimore and various other parts of the country.
Oh, wow.
Knowing about colleagues planting drugs on people and different things. And I was able to get that information from him and being able to share that back with my own local community. Mm-hmm. And then now even pressing my local government. I just got in contact with a young lady who works in the archives for our city. And we are getting all the information together of all of the harm that's been done in the city to the ADOS community. And I'm getting ready to push our city council to basically galvanize all of that to be able to comply with the federal agenda once that comes down. Okay. So once these chapters get going, I'll be able to officially come out as, being a part of the organization. But just on my own with what I've been learning from you and Mr. Antonio, I'm definitely trying to do my best down here with the resources that I have.
Well, you sound like you are. Be careful too. Watch your back. Watch your 6. But you sound like you're doing good work.
You might be the 5th person that said that to me this week.
And that don't mean don't do it. It just means when you start doing certain stuff, you just gotta be just real cognizant of your surroundings. That's all.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
So, well, I appreciate you, fam, and I'll look out for that email.
Yes, ma'am. We'll do. And if you like, I can resend it again just so it can be fresh in your feed.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be great. I wasn't gonna say it, but that'll be great.
Okay.
All right. I appreciate you. Bye.
All right.
I'm going to my last call. I'm going to 251-251. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Good evening, Yvette. This is Jamar from Alabama.
Hey, what's going on?
Nothing much. I'll try to keep my comment concise. Watching what some of the leaders in the NAACP and just seeing the betrayal that they're committing against ADOS people, I see a lot of fear, and I see a lot of fear from several groups when it comes to ADOS politics. I saw the Rock Newman interview that you had, and I want to say it was good to see, both of you guys were gracious, and I thought it was a good talk. And I like Rock Newman, but one of the things he talked about, I think he mentioned some things about Pan-Africanism and, overall blackness, and one of the things that some of the older generations, they're showing this fear of this house that they built around Pan-Africanism. And when ADOS came, it just tore all of that down. And that's scary to people, right? They want to hold on to the Pan-Africanism so much. Even when the pure logic of ADOS came, they just wanted to shut down. They wanted to shut you down and Antonio and anybody that brought that logic, because it's the type of logic that's going to shake up the political landscape, right? Our government is scared. Our government is scared because, again, ADOS politics, reparations aside, ADOS politics changes everything. It changes everybody's politics. Yep. I'm hearing whispers from other groups that want to disaggregate. They're talking about disaggregating.
And now, nobody was talking about it.
Everybody in the country.
Yep. Nobody was talking about disaggregation. I saw the whole Asian thing that we got to disaggregate. Wow.
Yeah, if everybody in the country, because they're going to follow us. Everybody in this country has followed and stole from ADOS. That's part of our history. If this political movement gets into the mainstream, and the mainstream people, they're no longer able to pretend like they don't know who we are, because that's all they're doing is pretend that they know who we are. They're afraid of us. If this gets out, and people are going to follow us, and then our government is going to have to do real work.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's all I wanted to say. I see a lot of fear, and when they come at you, and when they come at this movement and just pretend like they don't understand what we're doing, and they do everything they can to placate, I guess, to the Democratic Party and not bring us real politics. It just shows just how cowardly they are in their politics.
I agree, fam.
And
I agree.
I appreciate everything you guys are doing, and that's really all I wanted to say.
I appreciate you, fam. And I agree. I think it's a mindset, right? So if this is all you know, and like you're leading, I want to thank everybody who called in. I'm gonna end the calls right there. But you're leading from that kind of perspective. You can't lead though from a place of fear, because you always gonna retreat. Like, even if it's not the right time to retreat, you gonna retreat. Like, that's just what it is, because that's the emotion from which you're leading, and there is no wisdom, there's no foresight, there's nothing in fear. Fear is a graveyard, right? And so I think he's right. I think they're leading from that, and that's all they know. You ever tried to get somebody outside of what they know? You ever try to teach somebody how to swim, and they only know the shallow end, and then they're in the deep end, and you trying to teach them how to swim, how to navigate this deep water? They just trying to get back to the shallow water. But you want to be able to swim so that you can go. If somebody push you into a pool, whatever, I'm trying to teach you how to swim, and they're like, no, I just gotta get back over there, because that's safety and that's fear. And so I do believe that that's part of that's absolutely part of what's happening here. Is that, and they're also afraid of losing power, because their power is in the ideology that they have pushed all these years. If you start going with a new ideology and a new kind of power dynamic, and it's not theirs, and they don't have ownership of it, and they don't really understand it, they're gonna start running into real problems, right? Because it's not theirs. Because if that structure for leadership belongs to somebody else, it doesn't belong to you anymore, right? So you have to try to make yourself right, even if on some level you're wrong. And I don't know if all these people do, but even if you know it, you know that you lose power by admitting it, and that's a problem. So anyway, fam, please hit the like button. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget Friday and Saturday. These are the 2 o'clock, I think. Yeah, 2 o'clock both days. These are the next two OMB town halls to call into, and you have 2 minutes to talk about why, not much time out your day, why you believe that ADOS should be the preferred ethnic designation. So please call in. Please try to make time. Either Saturday, maybe when you're off work, or Friday if you can take a little time during lunch or whatever. It usually goes from like 2 to 5 or whatever. So the earliest you can get in the queue, the earliest you can say what you got to say and get out of there. So if not, you can just keep it planned and do whatever you got to do depending on where you work or whatever. But try to get in there, fam. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Finish your libation. Keep it easy breezy, and I will see you all YouTube next week. And this time, don't forget, 29th is my birthday, so I don't think I'll be here that week. Wait a minute, I think my birthday falls on a Wednesday, so no, I won't be here. The last week in March, I will not be here, and I ain't gonna be nowhere doing nothing, no party. I'm just gonna be in the bed eating birthday cake. So just don't plan on seeing me here that week, okay? So be like, if I forget to say anything on the 29th or the week of the 29th, just remember, I remember Yvette said so and so and so and so. So I appreciate it, fam. I will see you all next time. Hit the like button and show up to the OMB to tell your truth. All right, fam.